It's a tea holder. Well, since there's no actual tea, I'm going to make myself a cup of comfort and joy. I have not had any of this yet this season. This is a holiday spice blend from Republic of Tea, and this is at World Market, if you're interested. It's very good. I don't think my water's hot enough. This would also be good in a wassail recipe because it's got all of those comforting spices in it. So if you just took some apple juice and some orange slices and put a couple of these tea bags in, that would be really tasty too. Let's open our yarn. We don't have a lot of colors, we don't have a lot of days left. I'm curious what the colors are going to morph into. More of this peach color. We seem to have a lot of peach and we didn't have that many blues. We've got, yeah, like 3 peaches that all look the same color. So that's interesting. Hi, welcome to another episode of Vlogmas. This is day 18 and we're going to be getting up to some sewing today. So I have the Boxy pouch slash dock kit slash sewing shaving kit to do. I'm hoping it's going to be a good pattern for us. We're going to go over some quilt techniques and yeah, just see how this one comes together. I have another one we can try if this one doesn't work out, spoiler alert. And yeah, so I think that's going to be fun. We also bake some beer bread, which is really nice, from Trader Joe's, and do some more holiday lights. I can't believe it's day 18 already. It feels like there's not a lot of time left. Yeah, I'm gonna have to clear off the sewing table, the cutting table here, my dining room table, and set up all the scrapbooking stuff. I haven't even started the scrapbooking yet, so yeah, I really need to get on that if I'm going to get anything accomplished this week. And then we also have to wrap presents and everything else. Lots to do, and making progress on my autumn blanket. We've also got that light purple shawl that we can continue working on, and still waiting for my Christmas yarn. Christmas yarn take 3 is stuck in customs right now, so not sure when I'm gonna get that, but that's okay. And then we found some backup yarn at Michael's if that yarn doesn't work out for me, so I have a few options, which is good. So it's going to be a fun time, and I hope you join us. So if that sounds good to you, go ahead and grab yourself a water or a cozy beverage, curl up, and let's make a bag. Okay, we are back to making a bag. Yay! So this week we are going to be making the Holland pouch. It's a quilted boxy pouch in 3 sizes. I'm going to be making the large one. And yeah, it's just going to come together like that. So we are going to take our 2 pieces of fabric, sandwich a piece of foam in between them, and quilt the whole piece, and then we're going to assemble it. So we are doing this with the masculine fabrics. So we have this nice geometric pattern with this as the lining. So we're going to prep these fabrics, get them ready to go, and then cut out this bag. And then we also have the Windsor pouch to try. Which is very similar, but if this quilty one works, I might just skip this one. I don't know. But this would be a nice small one for like a notions pouch for needles and hooks and stitch markers and scissors and all that fun stuff. So this might be a good one to make for the yarn crawl. And that one, I believe, does not have to be quilted. So we'll try it both ways and see what works. I've got some other fabrics we can try, leftover fabrics from the bags we made for the last year's yarn crawl that we can try making some of these out of. So we'll give it a shot, and then we'll know if we have like another pattern we can do. I'm also trying to think of more gender neutral masculine bags that I can make because all my stuff is very colorful and flowery. So I was trying to think of something that would be more of a masculine unisex kind of gift that somebody could get their significant other. So we will see how this goes, and maybe we can add this to our product line. So let's get started. So we've got our ironing set up. Getting a late start here. It's almost 12, and we're gonna sit down, iron some fabric, and watch some YouTube. We were not recording that entire time. Oh boy. Okay, so today we are making beer bread. I found this at Trader Joe's and wanted to give it a try. It's just add beer and water. And beer bread reminds me of when I was a kid. I did competitive Irish dancing all through school. And they always had, at the feshes, they always had Irish soda bread and beer bread for sale. So I was thinking this would be a nice thing to try. I'm gonna grease the heck out of my bread pan, my loaf pan. Does anybody still put flour in theirs? Used to be the thing where you put flour in there, but I haven't done that in a long time. So we're gonna spread the dough in the pan, and then we're gonna pour the butter on top. So I just did half a stick of melted butter. Smells very bready with the beer in there especially. So I don't know if there's any yeast in here. I think the whole point is that the beer is the yeast. Don't know if that's true or not. Okay, so we're just gonna spread that out. And I used a Modelo Negro, so a nice dark beer I thought would taste good. And I'm just gonna pour the butter on top. Really don't know how that works. And we're gonna stick her in the oven for 50 to 55 minutes. There's a hole in my fabric. I have to make sure I don't incorporate that in. I think it's on this side. So that's not good. I've never had a hole in my fabric before. It's like a little tear that I do not think I did myself. Okay. I wish you guys could smell what I'm smelling. That beer bread smells amazing. So it is almost done. I'm gonna have to wait for it to cool completely. I don't think I have to put any butter on it because it's pretty buttery already. And then we've got, it was an option to put cheese in it, but I didn't really have any like Colby Jack or anything that I wanted to use. Okay, so I am going to cut my pieces out of this piece. It's just one piece because we're gonna sandwich them together between the foam, and we're gonna use some basting spray to do that. So I'll share that with you in a minute. Okay. This isn't really directional, so I'm gonna do the large one, which seems pretty large now that I'm looking at it here. And we've also got a handle and the accents, the bindings and everything. So I might be cutting all of that out of the lining, I'm not sure. So I think we all know how I feel about binding, but these binding strips are teeny weeny weeny. So these binding strips are like 8 inches long. So basically what we're doing is we're doing a binding strip where the zipper attaches on both sides, and then we're doing a binding when we do this whole thing. We're gonna, let me show you. We're gonna attach bindings here, and then we're gonna box out the bottom. So it's a whole thing, but the binding's like really small and it's in a straight line. So I think we will be okay. Okay, now we got the dishwasher going, we got the laundry going. So excuse the noise. So what I do when I do spray basting is I have an old cutting mat that I don't mind getting glue on, because basically the spray is like glue. Now unfortunately I gotta lay my fabric down to do this, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay our foam down first. So if it gets sticky the first time, it's not that big of a deal. It would also be great if I covered over this, because this piece is big enough where I don't really have a lot of overspray room. So let me see if I've got a bigger mat. Well, it's the same size mat, but I can at least kind of stagger them. So hopefully the spray isn't too bad. Now ideally you would be doing this outside or in a well-ventilated place. I am not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my fabric down. We're going to line it up, and then I'm just going to pull up one side, spray here, and adhere it. There's lots of spray foams out there, but I find that this one works really well. So this is the ODIF 505 temporary adhesive for fabric. And you really gotta shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. I don't have a lot left in here. So I'm probably gonna have to go get more of this. Oh. There we go. I just find this works better. It doesn't need to stick for that long because we're gonna go and stitch it down right now. So it's just temporary, but some of these temporary sprays don't work at all. So I am just going to spray on the foam, get like a nice coverage. Like I said, it's temporary, doesn't need to hold forever. And then we're just going to push it down, spread it out, try and get it as even as possible. Like that. And then we're going to go to the other side. It's already holding beautifully. I put it in 5 minutes over the recommended time, just because it wasn't looking quite cooked, and I didn't have good luck with the last timing on the last bread. So we're just gonna go over here, and that feels much better. Okay, so the problem now is letting it cool, because you should smell this. It smells amazing. So I can't wait to break into this, but I'm gonna have to let it cool completely before we can eat it. So we'll check in on it later. Now when it comes to quilting, you have several things to consider. You can consider your pattern, which way your pattern is going. You can do vertical lines, horizontal lines. You can do fancy freeform if you're really skilled and into that. What I like to do is I like to do diagonals. So what I will usually do is pick a diagonal on my board. So this one is 120, this one is a 90 degree, we've got a 60 degree over here, we've got a 105 degree over here. So you just want to pick one on your board, and you're going to want to go in the middle of your piece. Now my ruler isn't quite long enough to get me the trajectory I need there. Now you can either use your chalk pencil, you can use a marking tool. I've got this interesting scoring tool where it just leaves a little mark for a little bit and then you got to stitch it right away. So this isn't going to make any sense based on our design. I think I'm going to go for the 120, and we are just going to leave a mark there. Now I can't see that at all, so that's my problem with that. So I'm going to do another mark. Actually, I think I'm going to follow the lines here because that's going to be way easier. I have a diagonal line. Now, unfortunately, the fabric kind of skewed a little bit, so it's not going to be exactly. But if I quilt on each of these, you see where these dark lines line up? If I quilt on each of these, I don't need a ruler. I don't need to mark all these out, which is ideal. Unfortunately, my Juki doesn't have one of those quilt ruler things that you can attach to stitch on. I've tried buying an aftermarket one. I can't find it. My other Juki that I use that has all the different stitches also doesn't have a stitch ruler like that you can attach to the foot. So it really helps me if I do this. The other thing I can do is I can put a ruler right up against my foot and have a certain amount of space, but I like this because we've got these diagonal lines right here. So that's going to make our job way easier. So let's go over to the machine and make some lines. Now I can already feel the layers kind of buckling here, so that's kind of annoying. So you just want to work as quickly as you can. For quilting, I like using Aurifil. This is Aurifil 2311. It's just a nice neutral white. So I am going to put that in the bobbin and in the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on something in the middle. It's so buckling right now. It's very much buckling right now. I'm going to iron this down real quick just to keep it from separating more. Okay, hopefully that's stabilized it a little bit. We just want to keep it from moving around too much and separating too much. So I'm going to go on these diagonals. I'm going to pick one right in the center of the fabric, and we're going to work our way out both ways, and then we're going to do the same thing going the other direction. We want to start in the middle so that as the fabric kind of separates and stretches, that we're not getting it bunched up. So another reason why we like the Juki, I'm going to do it at 3mm stitch length. We're going to start off the piece and then go on to the piece. And we're going to keep stitching off so that it kind of seals itself there. And I'm just going to keep going with this on every other row here. And we're just kind of like stretch it out as we go. We want that to be as flat as possible. So even though it's kind of separating from the foam right now, I need to make sure and smooth it out as we stitch. And don't worry if it looks a little off. We're cutting this off, so don't worry about that. And you just want to keep an eye on your bobbin thread, because you're going to be using a lot of thread here. And I just like to pull my bobbin thread taut again. Now the only problem with doing this for me is that this takes a lot of extra time, and if I'm going to be selling these, you know, I have to factor in the time that this takes to quilt this whole thing and the thread and everything that it takes. So we might not be using this pattern. I might have to try the So Sweetness pattern as an alternative. Okay, dogs have been walked, plants have been watered, bag has been started, and bread has cooled. So let's take a taste. Pretty good. Tastes like the beer bread I remember. It's funny though, because the amount of butter that we put on top was like half a stick of butter. I'm not tasting the butter. I feel like I could put more butter on this. So if you're looking for something If you've ever wanted to try beer bread or you used to eat beer bread and you want a little reminiscence, go ahead and pick one of these kits up. And we are done. So you'll see that the fabric shifted quite a lot. Where's the other side? Here. You'll see that shifted quite a lot. But we're going to clean it up now, so it's not that big of a deal if that happens. The other thing to remember is just that you're human and this is not going to be perfect. I'm not perfectly on the lines, but you'll see that the thread just blends in. And if you've never quilted anything before and you want to give it a shot, I highly recommend getting a geometric pattern like this. This is perfect for quilting. And you don't have to quilt this close together. I could have picked every other one and it wouldn't be as much lines of stitching. And you'll see that it blends in with the lining fabric as well. So we're just going to clean this up. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this probably isn't a pattern we can make just because the amount of time it takes to stitch all of this. You can also do this without the foam. You can do it with actual quilt batting, but then obviously this isn't going to be as sturdy of a bag. But that doesn't mean that if you're working on another project that doesn't need to be this stiff, that you can't do that. Okay, so we are going to do our usual half fold top stitch for both of these pieces and set those aside. And then for everything else, we are going to fold in half and press so that it's just basically like binding. And then when we sew it down, we're going to sew like this, turn it around, and sew again. So if you've ever done quilting, that's what we're doing with all of these bindings. So we're going to fold all of these in half and press, and then we're going to press these just like we do with any other handle that we're sewing. Okay, so I picked a zipper color. I can't seem to find my navy zipper, but this is a close color. We're going to go with a serious zipper pull. No cutesy zipper pulls for us today because this is a more masculine bag. Haha, well, if I had lined up the zipper correctly, I would have had all this room to pull the zipper head off of, and then it would have been easier to sew down, but oh well. So we are going to flip this so that the lining side is out. So it's inside out now, and we are going to find our midway point. Lay this flat. And I'll just do it this way. Put a pin or a clip on the midway point. And then we are going to flatten it out, line up that midway point. And then we are going to stitch across here just to hold that down. Make sure it doesn't move around. So we are going to baste this down, which will also close off the zipper from moving around. And then we're gonna chop off the excess zipper, and then we are going to attach our binding. So we've got this binding, and then we'll wrap it around like we did last time. Now don't worry about the raw edges because we're gonna be cutting out, we're gonna be boxing these corners. So you don't have to worry about the fact that you're sewing down a raw edge here because we're cutting that off. And you don't have to worry about if there's excess either because we're cutting that off. Okay, now we're going to cut out a 2.5 inch square from the stitched line. Oh, you have to attach the handles are going to go through here. I would assume right there. Okay. So she has us putting a handle on each side, which is quite interesting. I'm not sure why. And I'm not sure what we're supposed to do with this big honkin' binding here. I don't know how that's supposed to lay flat. Okay, well that was fun. I almost ruined my needle. You gotta be real careful over these parts. I hand cranked over these parts because it's just so thick with the, what is that? 4 layers, 4 layers of foam. So that means I'm gonna hand crank these as well. So what we need to do now is we're gonna sew these down, and then what we have to do before we sew the other side is we're gonna have to put them in so when we flip it we don't have a raw edge, because now's the point where we don't want a raw edge. I also find this very fiddly to try and match this up correctly and cover up the edges. That was really difficult to do. Like I didn't quite get there on this one. So very fiddly, but I think if you're somebody who quilts, then you already know how to do binding better than I do, and this wouldn't be an issue for you. But the good news is that all the binding is in the interior, so you're not going to see most of this. Okay, let's get her turned around. Oops. Now the other one does have a lining and an exterior that is normal, and you don't have to do the binding, so that's good. But like I said, if you quilt and you already know how to do all this, then this might be a better way for you to do a bag construction. I know a lot of people who quilt like doing quilted bags better than regular bags because it's more familiar to you. But since I did bag making first, I find the bag making very easy for me. There we go. It is super cute. I probably would have a longer handle and do it on one side rather than do it on both sides. So what you can do is you can iron, you can clip to kind of define this box more. But yeah, that's really nice. You can clip here too. This one's nice and roomy. So this is, what's the big one? I don't think she has the finished sizes, does she? 8 by 6 by 4.5. So it's a nice size. I mean, you see my scissors. My scissors by comparison, these are pretty tall scissors. The whole thing of clips, so you can fit quite a lot in here. You can definitely get your deodorant, soap, shampoo, like whatever you need. Obviously not big enough for my cosmetic kit, but very cute. And that turned out pretty well. It's pretty even. Yeah, it's just, binding's not my favorite. You could definitely just clip everything to define it a little more. In fact, I will clip this overnight, and then when I show it to you in the outro, you get a better idea. See how this is a little uneven here? It's not quite in the middle. This is the kind of thing that drives me crazy. So we will let it sit there in torturous format until tomorrow morning, when I will say goodbye to you. Okay, white Anastasia. Let's try that out. That's really nice. The water's not quite hot enough. I've had it too hot in previous episodes, so trying not to heat it up too much. And let's look at our day 20 yarn. Yay! We seem to have a lot of peaches and pinks, and now we're getting into sand. So for some reason I thought we were going to have more colors than this, or at least that we were going to have more vibrant colors. So it's looking very pastel-y, and I mean, we only had like 4 blues, barely any pinks, and now we're getting into more of a brown. So not sure about that. We should take a look at these color names. So day 20 is Dormouse, that makes sense. Yesterday's was Curiouser and Curiouser. So we have yet to go March Hare, Queen's Court, Off with Her Head, and Painting the Roses Red. So I'm assuming we're going into red at some point here in the last 4 days. Something I saw somebody else do was take the doors off of here and wrap it around each skein. I wish I had seen that before we started, because I totally would have done that so that I had them in number order, although it's pretty easy to tell because it's a fade what order it's in. Okay, so thanks for joining me for another episode of Vlogmas. We're gonna have one more episode of Vlogmas because I have finally laid out all the scrapbooking stuff and have organized it. So we're gonna be doing some scrapbooking. We are going to try and not succeed on another pouch pattern, another boxy pouch. So I will share that with you just so you can have some schadenfreude, what's it called? You can just see what it's like really trying new patterns all the time. Some of them work, some of them don't. I will probably have to bleep myself. And just enjoyed a massage. So I'm going to be wrapping some presents, getting everything ready for Christmas, going and getting some more shopping done and things like that. So I will share all of that with you, and some more holiday lights as well. I haven't had time to fit those in. But let's take a look at our successful boxy pouch. So here is our boxy pouch from Center Street Quilts. Like I talked about, I really can't make this one for sale. It's a lot of time. So even though it turned out pretty well, except for the fact that I got my zipper off center somehow, but it turned out really cute. It's nice and boxy, and because we quilted it with the foam, it's nice and sturdy and holds up, and there's actually a lot of room in there, and you really can't see the binding too much because it's on the inside. So I highly recommend, if you've ever wanted to try and make a quilty project, that this be the one. It's a good way to learn how to do binding without it being a huge struggle, because they're teeny binding pieces. And I don't know why we have 2 handles. I would probably leave the handle off of that one and make this one longer. But yeah, it's just not worth the time to me. Obviously, I could have put these quilting lines further away. That would have helped with the timing. But yeah, just not going to work for me. So I'm on the lookout for another boxy pouch pattern. If you have one, put one down below. I think these really do work better when you quilt them. So I'm not sure I'm going to find one that has the construction that I want. So we might just table this. So I think starting after Christmas, I'm going to get into the piggies. Since we already have that fabric ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and prep the fabric and cut it and get started on those. I'm going to have a little Christmas message for you. So we've got one more episode of Vlogmas, and then I'll put together a Christmas message for you. And then the week after Christmas, the Saturday, the normal Saturday video is going to be a retrospective of the whole year. So I hope you join me for that. And I hope you've just had a nice holiday season and gotten to see friends and family and do some of those special traditions that you have in your family. I'm hoping to make some Christmas cookies this week as well. So I'll share those recipes with you when we get there. But as always, thank you for coming and spending time with me. And I hope you've enjoyed tagging along on my Christmas setup and everything. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead and hope to see you back here for the last episode of Vlogmas. Love you, friends. Bye.